Can you believe it? This stupid winter snow. I have to get out here and dig these trails out. I hate this stuff. Man, I just got these new pair of skis. I'm looking so much forward to going skiing. The snow is so great. I love this stuff. All right, mindset. What's the big deal? Everybody's talking about it. Why is it important? Well, today I'm going to be talking about what it is, why it's important, and how you can use mindset to make yourself more successful. All right, so what is mindset anyway? Well, here's my definition, and here's how I look at it. I think a mindset is a set of attitudes that you have in your life that you've gotten from maybe your parents, maybe somebody significant in your family, maybe it was your grandparents, but somehow these attitudes have trickled down into your life. And also you also got your attitudes and these sets of attitudes as you've grown up over your years from things that you learned, things that your life experiences, and they all culminate and turn into a set of values and a set of attitudes that we call mindset. Now let me just turn the page a little bit here and think about this for a second. So when you talk about mindset, I think there's two different kinds of or ways that mindsets are incorporated into our life. One is our subconscious mindset, and the other is our conscious mindset. And for example, a conscious mindset might be, man, it is cold out here. I need to get a coat on. That's a conscious mindset and attitude that you've incorporated into your life. But a subconscious attitude or a subconscious way of thinking is you a lot of times don't even realize that you're thinking the way you're thinking. And it turns into something it's affecting your life, but it's not something that you're directly thinking about. And it might be, for example, I'm sitting out here in the winter, and maybe you're a type of person that doesn't like cold weather. And even though, like, consciously you're not thinking, man, I just hate cold weather, in the back of your mind or in your subconscious, you're thinking about how bad it is and maybe some bad experience you've had in your life with cold weather. And I believe that our attitudes are like 90% subconscious, and you don't even know what you're thinking about and how it's affecting your life. And that's why this is so important for you and for me to get to the bottom of this. And I have this two brothers that I've known in my life, and they grew up in this kind of pretty dysfunctional alcoholic family. Their dad was a very successful professional guy, but at night he would come home and he would drink, and he was abusive, and it just had a detrimental effect on the whole family. It was super dysfunctional, and these guys both had a hard time growing up. But here's the deal. One of the brothers now has gone through life, and they own multiple pieces of real estate. They're worth well over millions of dollars. His family is, and he has a great family situation with kids and a spouse, and just some great relationships, and doing really well in life. The other brother took this thing a whole nother direction, and he lives in this little one-room apartment, and he's like fearful, and life is always out to get him, and he's got this whole negative thing going in his whole life, and it's amazing to watch these two brothers who went through kind of a hard life, but they handle it so differently. And I've seen with my own eyes the different ways that they process things. One guy, when things are going bad, he adjusts for it. He makes changes. He changes his mindset. He changes the way he thinks about things, and he turns it into something positive. The other guy just says, "Yep, this is the way life is. Life stinks, and this is just more of it." And it's just amazing the difference in mindset and how it impacted those two brothers, and how it impacts each one of us, and why it's so important to look into this. Okay, so why is this whole mindset so important? And here it is in a nutshell. It's important because it impacts the outcome of your life. Just like the two brothers that I was talking to just a couple seconds ago, it has a dramatic impact on the outcome of your life. One brother is a multimillionaire, the other guy is stuck in a little apartment with his negative attitudes and poor things are going on in his life. And so it's so critical for us to like take this seriously and develop these things in our lives and become better with our mindset. Another thing that you can think about that mindset really has an impact on it is it improves your physical health. When you have a good attitude, your body functions better. Your digestive system functions better. Your heart and lung system functions better because of your attitude. It does. It's just the way it is. Another thing that mindset does, and when you have a good mindset, is it decreases stress. And so in a stressful situation, a person with a good mindset has a way of dealing with stress that's healthy, whereas a person with a poor mindset just exasperates the whole thing and makes the stressful situation even worse. And another thing I can think about is that mindset really has an impact on you having the ability to be resilient to life change. And I was just talking to a friend just the other day, and we were talking about the one thing that always happens in life is there's always change. And things change, and it's just the way it is. And if you have a good mindset, a good way of dealing with that, it helps you deal with those changes, and is so critical for the success and the health of your life. And these things just remind me of this. A friend of mine, he's a real estate agent, very successful guy. You know, he went through some pretty rough patches. He grew up in, I think it was LA, somewhere on the beach. And he's kind of like a beach bum kind of a guy, having a good time. But he got involved with some guys, some other kids that weren't, necessarily focused on the good things in life. And then he started like in this downward spiral, and he ended up in juvenile. I think he calls it juvie. It's a place, a detention center for underage kids. And he got himself into so much trouble with drugs and I think it was stealing stuff, things like that. But anyway, he ended up in this juvie place, and his dad came and picked him up, and he said, man, like almost with tears in his eyes, he was telling me this story about how his dad looked at him. He said, you got to make some choices, man. And it was about the way he was processing life, and he got a hold of some good tapes about a very successful guy. And it just altered the way he thought about life and processed life. And now, he's got this great family. He has a successful business, and he's doing so good just because at that point in his life, he made some decisions about mindset and how to change them. So that's why it's so important to take a look at mindset, and that's why it's so important to incorporate these things into our lives. So if you're like me, you're saying to yourself, I don't want to be like that one brother stuck in the little apartment. I want to be like the other brother that has the big real estate business going on. Well, here's some things that you can do to change your mindset. Number one, the first thing you need to do is you need to identify and challenge your limiting beliefs. All of us have belief systems that limit us. And for example, the one brother had a belief system about himself that he could never take a risk and make it work out. He always thought if he took a risk, he would fail. And he learned that when he was growing up in this dysfunctional home. So that's the first thing you need to do, is you need to identify and challenge anything in your life that is limiting you. The other thing is that you need to do that the one brother never really did very well is he never really faced his fears. He was more fearful through his life experience. And there's a lot of things that happened to him that I can't really blame him for being, in a bad way, but the other brother overcame those things, and he was able to face his fears and say to himself, you know what, this is scary, but I'm going to take the next step. I'm going to keep moving forward. And that's what made him more of a success than the other brother. The other thing that I think that's so critical, that I found so relevant and so important in my life, is that you change the way that you talk to yourself. And going back to my earlier comments about like 90% of our attitudes and things are subconscious. Here's something that can really help you with that. If you do this, it'll really affect those subconscious negative beliefs, and that's change your self-talk. And so it's important to monitor and the way you do this, this is important, but the way you do this is you monitor what you're saying to yourself. So like when you're driving down the road, and something happens, or you're in a relationship and something happens, monitor and trying to remember what you were thinking about in those situations, and arrest those negative thoughts and change them with thoughts that are more accurate, more proactive, more positive, and more engaging in your life, and get you to the place where you want to be. That's how you change the subconscious things that are going on in your life that are impacting you the way they are, by I call them affirmations. Affirm yourself. Yes, I can be a multimillionaire. Yes, I can have good relationships. Yes, I can be strong and healthy physically, and those kinds of things. And start saying those things to yourself over and over again, and it will happen. I've seen it happen in my life so many times. And here's a great story. I remember years ago in our business, we're kind of struggling along. It's like we're just getting started, and we'd made some mistakes, and we were getting behind, and we'd been behind on our money. And I remember saying to myself, you know, I would go to the post office box. It was part of the business, part of my job, and I'd unlock that door, the post office door, open it up, and usually at that time there's like 10 bills, and maybe if I was lucky I'd get one check, and so it was just like, so I thought to myself, that is so weird. Why is there more bills in here than there is checks? Should be the other way around. And one time I caught myself thinking, as I was walking into the post office, I caught myself thinking, man, there's not going to be any money in there. We're never going to be able to be successful, and those kinds of thoughts. And I thought, whoa. So what I did was I changed that. I changed that thought. So every time I walked into the post office, I would say to myself, when I open up that door, there's going to be so many checks in that box that they're just going to, like, as I open the door up, they're going to fall out of there. There's going to be so much money in there. And it was a crazy thought. I kept thinking that to myself, like, for I think it was like a year and a half. But after a while, it actually started happening. And there's a whole bunch of things that happened with that. But I would go in there, unlock that door, and checks would fall out of there. It was amazing. And that was just one of my experiences. And I think if we do that, and this is a deep well, and there's lots to talk about in that specific area. And there's a lot of reasons why that happened. And it's just not like a hocus pocus things, and we weren't just sitting on our hands doing nothing. But it did happen, and I think a big part of that was just my changing my mindset. And then the last thing I want to encourage you with, that I had to do myself, is you've got to get some support. Either a good friend who's on the right track, that has the right kind of mindset, or some kind of a coach, or some kind of a system that you can follow. There's all kinds of self-help things going on out there. And the last thing you can do is you can go check out some of my videos here. And there's some great content in here. If you follow along with me, I'll help you be successful. So check my videos out, check my stuff out. And if you got some good value out of this video, like it, subscribe to my channel, and share this thing around with your buddies. And let's make this health revolution a real thing, and get people on the right track so they can see their mission fulfilled in their life.